right. Okay, so October 16th, Faculty of Forestry at the University of British Columbia. My name is Michelle Suderman, and I have the distinct privilege of talking to you today and hearing from you about your interest in the Faculty of Forestry. I have two roles in my normal job. One is an academic advisor. So the content we're going to talk about today is near and dear to my heart, helping you navigate and have a fantastic university experience. And I also am a co-op coordinator. We'll talk more about that later in the program as well. So before we get into the rest of our program, I do want to acknowledge the land that we're operating from and living, working, and playing on. UBC's Vancouver campus is situated on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh First Nations, and it's an honor to be able to continue the learning that has happened on these lands continuously for millennia. So what will we accomplish today? I've done an introduction of myself. In a moment, I'll introduce my other colleagues who are here on the call, who are great resources for you. We'll go over information about the Faculty of Forestry in general. Then we'll look at each of the possible academic programs that you could choose from. There's more to school than the academic learning that we do. We bring our whole person, our whole selves to university. So we'll talk more about some of the enrichment opportunities that happen to take place outside of the classroom, but then ideally blend in with everything you're learning in class as well. You might have some specific questions about admissions and the kind of classes you should be taking in high school, that kind of thing. And so we'll talk about that. And then we'll have time at the end for questions and answers. If you have a question that is burning and you really feel like you need to write it down at the moment that it comes to you, you're welcome to use the chat function on this Zoom call. We will do our best to answer that while the presentation is going on, and we'll circle back to those at the end and make sure they all got answered. So I want to introduce a number of folks. Today, our Associate Dean of Students in the Faculty of Forestry, Scott Hinch, is joining us. Thanks. Hi, Scott. Really appreciate you being here today. And as well, our Associate Director of Student Services, Anna Kirchen, is here today and will be answering a lot of your questions. Our Senior Academic Advisor, Jana Collette, is here and will also be helping make sure everything is running smoothly. And then we have our colleague Sonia as well. She is the magic behind anything website and technological we get done. So really grateful that Sonia is here as well. Okay, so you are in luck because one of you lucky people will be winning this beautiful limited edition Faculty of Forestry sweatshirt. We'll mail it or post it, ship it out to you in some way that we hope will get to you. So if you're on the call now, we're putting your names into draw, and there's nothing else you have to do to be eligible to have your name drawn. So at the end of the presentation, we'll announce who that is. And if you hear your name, be sure to stay on the call long enough for us to get your contact information, your email address, so that we can be in touch with you and get your nail mail and figure out how we're going to get that sweatshirt to you. So that's going to be fun. I don't even have a sweatshirt like that. Okay, so a few things that students in the past have told us really struck them about the Faculty of Forestry that wasn't what they expected in a really good way. So one is students tell us they really feel like when they come to forestry, they're part of a close-knit community of students and professors who have many things in common, but particularly a passion for the environment and for really seeing how we can promote healthy living, healthy spaces, healthy communities, healthy planet. So that means then as a smaller faculty at the university, it's very common that you'll get to know a lot of other students, that professors will know your names, and that when you have a question, you can come to an office like ours, Forestry Student Services. And anything that's not making sense, you can ask, and we can easily connect you in with the kind of resources and supports that could make your experience at UBC really all that much more awesome. So the close-knit community in our faculty is a really pretty fabulous attractor. We also have quite a few experiential opportunities. So that's where you're actually putting your learning to practical use. Often it's going to be outside, often it's going to be off campus or out of the classroom. And so a couple of those, for most of our programs, we have actually mandatory field courses. And that means that we really are determined to make sure you spend some time in nature, understanding, experiencing the kind of things that you're learning about. And most of our students tell us that the field courses really are a highlight of their experience in faculty forestry. Study abroad is a great option, and we have students who will take part of their degree actually at a university or in an experience that's outside of Canada or even elsewhere in Canada. And so that's definitely an option for students in any of the forestry degrees. The undergraduate research opportunities in the Faculty of Forestry, since we are a smaller faculty, means that faculty members get to know students, and it's a lot easier to say, I love what you're researching, Professor X. Is there a way that I could be part of that I could contribute to that generation of new knowledge? And so we have quite a few undergraduate research opportunities. Uh, in Haida Gwaii, in northern BC, off the coast, there is a pretty amazing institute that offers summer and semester options, and the courses that you take there are UBC courses that would contribute directly toward your degree in some way. And so that's a fantastic opportunity to look into. And finally, I'll mention a little more about this later on, but co-op is a great way to take some semesters of full-time work, interspersed between your semesters of study, so that by the time you graduate, you already will have done up to 5 semesters of full-time work, and the kind of jobs then that you're eligible to apply for right after graduation are substantially advanced, could be higher pay, could be more responsibility, and could be that step closer to what you really want to be doing. And so co-op is a great option, and students also in all of our degrees are eligible to apply for the co-op program. We are fortunate to have a large number of scholarships and more scholarships than many of the larger faculties are able to provide in terms of sort of per student. And so that's a real advantage. And then we also are really fortunate to have some quite expert professionals working in forestry and connecting in with people at the rest of the campus to make sure that whatever you need to get through the university experience so that you are not just surviving but thriving is available to you and is easy to access. So one, our Office Forestry Student Services, there's a forestry emergency fund, which many faculties also don't have. So when things get really tough, you can come and talk with us and we'll see if there are ways we can come alongside and ease that burden. We do have regular networking events to be able to connect. We just had some students go on a hike a couple of weekends ago and said they had an amazing time together. A tri-mentoring program is a fantastic opportunity for you as a newer student to then be paired with another student, often a senior student, and then with a faculty member, a professor, who's able to then, in that triad, really help you clarify what you want to do next, what you want to do during school with your career, and also help you identify those opportunities that will really make your university experience absolutely the best it can be. And the last thing I'll mention is a fantastic program that we have in just a few faculties here at UBC. We have it in the Faculty of Forestry. Imagine if you could get together with a senior student who's already taken the class you're taking, and they also are really expert in knowing how to help people learn about the class and study together, and then meeting with a group of other new students who are in that same class and being able every week for free to have expert support. That's what the peer-assisted study sessions are. So we hire senior students who've already taken the class that you're taking. They've been nominated by their professor for really being outstanding, and they're well trained to be able to support you in your learning, and it's for free. And students who attend these peer-assisted study sessions, or PASS is the acronym, actually the research suggests that they will do better and come out with a higher GPA in the class. So that's pretty exciting. So lots of great opportunities in the Faculty of Forestry, and some things that make the Faculty of Forestry a little different than some other places you might consider. So what do we do in the Faculty of Forestry? Is it all really just about trees? Well, of course not. Now, I'm going to invite you, yes, to pop into the chat, if you'd like, any words, it could be ones you see here, or other things that come to mind when you think about forestry or Faculty of Forestry. Okay, I'm going to start us off with an easy one. I'm going to say trees. This is the audience participation section. Care, love that. Wildlife, I bet we've got 2 or 3 more. Conservation, Heath and Erica are thinking the exact same thing at the same time. Isn't that awesome? Conservation, wildlife, fish. Can you tell that Dr. Hinch's specialty is fish? Great, conservation, fantastic. So you see, thanks for that. So you see on the slide, these are just a few of the kind of things we talk about in the Faculty of Forestry. And you'll see that sustainability is right in the center. This idea of stewarding the environment, this idea that there is no plan B Earth, this is the Earth that we have, and we want to do just a really outstanding job of securing the legacy of a healthy planet for ourselves and for the next many generations. And that can look like lots of different niche areas. One of our professors loves to say, loves to challenge people, name anything, and he will tell you how it connects back to forestry. So I think we won't have that particular contest today, but I think you'll find there are lots of areas about uh, our life in society that forestries do touch on and impact as well. And in the faculty, we want to have that breadth of focus. Okay, so I promised after talking about the faculty in general that we would start to look at the specific majors or degrees that you can apply for. Now, the majority of students in our faculty are pursuing a Bachelor of Science. Bachelor of Science means that you're going to be grounded in your math and biology and chemistry for at least 1 or 2 years of that material, and that the approach that we'll be taking in all of the material is grounded in science and Western science as well as Indigenous ways of knowing. And that means you could take it and use it in whatever kinds of jobs and professions a Bachelor of Science would open up for you. And of course, our focus is natural resources. And within that bachelor's degree, there are 6 different majors that you could focus on. So the first is the bachelor, so the major in bioeconomy sciences and technology. The acronym is BEST or BEST. And this is really looking at when we think about all the products that nature gives us, and we can start even with the cellulose in a tree or the lignin in a tree, what else can that be used for? All the single-use plastics in our lives, how could those be replaced with natural products? And so there's some really exciting work that's going on here at UBC around alternative energy systems, bio-based polymers, and then I love the idea that biocomposites, looking at things like pieces of a watch. Why do watches have to be metal? and looking at some of the medical technology that we use, pacemakers and these kind of things. Why do all of those parts have to be metals and other chemicals that can be quite harmful to the body? What's the possibility with wood-based products or natural-based products? So this is a really exciting and growing area of technology that I suspect many of you will be interested in. By far, our most popular major is conservation, really looking at how we take care of our natural resources, and that's everything from wildlife and looking at particular species, looking at insects and their role in ecology, and then getting up to sort of the macro of, okay, what's happening in intergovernmental organizations as we look at our, national and international policies around conservation. So there's a real breadth of possibilities here. And one of the focus areas that's possible within conservation is global perspectives to be able to have an international or cultural experience, and also optional language courses to really equip yourself to be making an impact, whether that's in BC, in Canada, or around the world. And so conservation is certainly one to consider. Perhaps you're interested more in the technology and the long-term planning, and also in thinking about human and nature interaction. So forest management is an opportunity where students would be studying things like silviculture, the care and feeding of trees, I like to think of it, as well as all of the measurement techniques, all of anything about forest management. And there, I just was talking with a company today on Vancouver Island that offers just really exciting careers working with forest management, and there's just a thriving industry around that. And then related is forest operations, and that's where there's more of a focus on the soil mechanics and on looking at forest policy, and for management and operations, students can take more of a structural and in some cases engineering bent. So that leads us then to forest science. In forest science, students are doubling down on the amount of math and biology and chemistry that they're studying compared to the other majors, and really looking at what's happening in some cases at the cellular level, so that we really understand the breadth of all of the rest of the work that's happening related to environmental stewardship. Excuse me. And then there are quite a few elective courses in this major, so that students can really specialize in the part of forest sciences that get them really excited and that they want to have an impact on. And then if you're counting, you know that there's one more major, because the sixth major is one that's also very popular with our students. It's a major in wood products. And so instead of being at the cellular level, we're zooming out and saying, okay, I've got products from the forest. What am I doing with them? And how do we make timber that's as strong as steel for construction purposes, for example, and all of the things that we do to work with, manipulate, and really get the best use out of the natural products that are available to us in our forests. So those are the 6 majors, and we'll take a minute to overview the degree. So we could do the next slide. Thanks, Jenna. So in year 1, if you're in the Bachelor of Science, then typically you'll be taking foundational courses: biology, chemistry, math, English, economics. And then in year 2, you'd pick from one of those 6 majors, and you would take the core courses that start to really focus in on that major. In year 3, you'd continue taking your core courses. And if you want to add a minor in commerce, where you're learning more about business planning and spreadsheets and some basic finance, then that's going to be an option to declare a minor in commerce. And then in year 4, most of the majors have a capstone course where you would spend 9, 12, 15 credits, as in really the focus of a semester on a project in a class that will sum up all the work that you've done. So by the time you are graduating, you'll not only have taken individual discrete courses that build on each other, you'll also have had time to really reflect and wrap that together in a capstone course. And in year 4 also, maybe there are some topics that you're really interested in at UBC and haven't had time to explore yet, or maybe you find a professor whose work you find really exciting and you want to really just take a class with you and them. We call it a directed study. And so there's some great opportunities in the 4th year. And then you'd graduate and start your career in the field of studies, or you might continue on going on to further school. Some of the options that are specific to some of them are specific to the 6 majors we talked about: the minor in commerce, dual degrees where you'd be doing 2 degrees at once, and they would take 1 degree in forestry and kind of mesh it in as you're taking the other program. So the other 2 program options are a master's degree in management, which you could start already in your bachelor's, or a Bachelor of Education to prepare to be a high school teacher, and it ends up with an accreditation to teach high school in BC. Now, there are some independent organizations that will that grant credentials, a special kind of designation for people in particular fields, and a couple of our programs will give you the coursework you need to apply for those. Usually after the coursework, you need to have a couple of years of experience, and in some cases write a big exam as well. So there's a registered professional biologist, registered professional forester, a professional engineer, which involves some extra classes, or a professional agrologist. So lots of great options to be able to demonstrate your expertise through your coursework and then adding on a designation as well. So that leads us then to our next degree. So we were talking about the Bachelor of Science. Now we're going to talk about the second of the degrees we have, and that's the Bachelor of Indigenous Land Stewardship. We are very fortunate to be partnering with many nations in the development of this program over many years. It's an interdisciplinary program, meaning that students will learn not just about forestry, but about governance, about law, about conflict resolution, about a wide variety of subjects, but all related to learning about Indigenous ways of knowing. And it's Indigenous and non-Indigenous students are welcome in the program. We're going to keep the cohort small, so we'll have 30 or 40 students starting in the program each of the years that it progresses, and we're now in our 2nd year. We feel very fortunate to be able to host and convene this particular bachelor's program. And a few of the specific topics in the Bachelor of Indigenous Land Studies, Land Stewardship, Indigenous views of landscape, decolonization and natural resources, holistic resource stewardship, remote sensing, Indigenous law, community conflict management, and the capstone course for this program involves creating with a First Nation or a local group a land stewardship plan for them, which is just, I think, an incredibly exciting opportunity because that's a plan that organization will then be able to put into effect once your studies are over. Then we have one last degree. So it's the Bachelor of Urban Forestry. This is one of our newer degrees and very popular with students. We'll be looking at how green infrastructure I'm going to read off the slide here since it's not my area of expertise, but can mitigate heat islands and cooling demands, and maintain biodiversity and carbon sinks, and control stormwater to prevent floods. There are two minors. One is urban greenscape management, and another is landscape and recreation planning. And the importance of taking into consideration how our forests and how our greenscapes are part of our city planning as the urban centers in Canada continue to grow is really critical and timely. And I think there's another slide about what we'll learn, right? So geomatics and the management of natural resources, how urban forests relate to well-being, how do you plan green networks so it's not just isolated random pocket parks, community forests and community forestry, and trees and shrubs in landscape, and then environmental justice as well. Looking at the connections between socioeconomic demographics of a region and the amount of green space available, and how do we have a sense of justice in terms of the way the environment's being stewarded and how that connects to human well-being. So if those things are getting you really excited, then the Bachelor of Urban Forestry might be for you. So we had talked about the Faculty of Forestry. We've talked about some of the academic programs you can choose from. Well, what are you going to do with it? So career is one of the focus areas that we have in this faculty from the very beginning. You may have seen on our website that 96% of our graduates within 6 months have secured meaningful employment. And we are very proud of that statistic. It's much higher than for the rest of the university. And so students clearly are finding their way through the university experience into the kind of practical application after graduation. So let me give you two examples of alumni from our programs who have gone on to do some extraordinary things. Sophia Yang, founder and executive director of Threading Change. She did the Bachelor of Science in Natural Resources with a major in, I think, with natural resources conservation with a major in global perspectives. And in 2020, they founded an international youth group working for a feminist and fossil-free fashion future. They have been holding textile talks webinars with international panels, and they have run #ClothesBusters campaign to bust fashion myths. We're just very proud of the work that Sophia has done, and we hope will continue to do. And then Karen Ray Daniels is an alum of our Bachelor of Science in Forest Bioeconomy, Sciences and Technology. That's the BEST program. And Karen currently is working as a strategic energy management program specialist at ClearResult here in Vancouver. And you may have heard of a company called Chop Value that also was a UBC Forestry alum who started that program. And Kieran was working as a supply chain and operations administrator. And I mentioned co-op before, where you can substitute in study work terms between your study terms. And so Kieran actually completed some co-op terms at the Chop Value organization. So we are proud of the work Kieran is doing, and I think it's a great example of the way you can have an impact taking a forestry degree out on the marketplace. Now, I mentioned that there are a couple of enrichment opportunities of things that you can do in addition to the courses that you'll be attending. And so the first one is the Land One program. Over many years, as we have, as universities and colleges have researched, how do we help students really thrive, especially in first year? How do we set them up for just a fantastic experience? Well, we'd want there to be a group of professors who are really keen about teaching and who want to get to know them by name and to be mentors and supports to them. Okay. We'd want to have a group of students together who are taking some classes in common, ideally, excuse me, who could get to know each other. We'd want to have a dedicated physical space, like a lounge where they could meet. We'd want to have not just classes that they take, but we'd want to have some classes that go across the classes so that they could take an idea from one class and work with it in another class. And the research over many years has shown these are some of the factors that would help first year students be successful. So at UBC, we have a program called Land One. It's for forestry students and also students in our sister faculty, Land and Food Systems. And it's exactly what I described, a cohort of about 30 students who have some first year classes in common and take a first year seminar that connects those classes together, taught by dedicated faculty members who team teach the cohort and who just love to support first year students learning. So Land One is a program you would apply for um, after you apply to UBC, and we'd send out information. You could apply to be part of that, and we would help register you for the common courses, and you'd register yourself for the other courses you want to take. And it's highly recommended that a lot of students in Land One say they feel better prepared for university and are more likely to persist through to graduation. So that's pretty exciting. So keep an eye out for information about Land One. Then we've got the co-op program. So up to 20 months of work experience, a full-time work experience in professional type roles, usually chunked up in 4-month chunks, but some students will combine them to do 4, 8, or 12 months. There are opportunities in BC, all across Canada, and you can also find an opportunity overseas that we'd be happy to support. We work hard to help you network with potential employers. Employers tell us that they would much rather hire a recent graduate who already has professional work experience. And that means for many students doing co-op, so that during your studies, you're completing that kind of work experience so that employers already, when you graduate from university, can see what you're capable of. And we do find that students who have done co-op have a very high rate of employment, of getting into not just a job, but into a job that's close to what they are hoping to be in, and with a higher salary and at a higher level of responsibility than a comparable student who hasn't had that work experience. You can apply for co-op at the beginning of your second year, and so look for more information on that when you hit campus. Okay, so there are a few here that I wanted to just circle back to, and then we'll get on to the admissions information after that. We talked about Land One and co-op, and I mentioned the Haida Gwaii semester. And again, if you're not from the BC region, you may not be familiar, but a group of islands, really just stunning ecological environment off northern BC. Go Global is the name of UBC's office that organizes things like exchange programs or global seminars in the summer to be able to have a really fantastic learning experience for academic credit that's outside of Canada. And again, students in any major are eligible to participate in Go Global programs. Mentorship, I mentioned the Try Mentor program. In fact, tonight, after we finish talking to you, we're going to go have a party. We're going to go meet the new mentees, the students who are going to be in the mentorship program this year, and their mentors, who are faculty members. And I think I forgot to mention, many of the mentors also come from industry as well. And so they'll be getting together tonight, meeting for the first time, and then they'll be staying connected throughout this year for mutual learning and really to expand that network of people with similar kind of passions. Then the Forestry Undergraduate Society, is the FUS, and they organize a lot of social events and activities, and as well, they represent you to the faculty to make sure that you are top of mind when we're thinking about policies and about planning and about really what the faculty is going to be all about. And then there are other great events and clubs. Coconut is an epic party that the Forestry Undergrad Society puts on every year. And there are clubs like Thunderjacks that do logger sports and compete in axe throwing and all those kind of things. So if that's your jam, you are definitely in the right place. And the list goes on. Lots and lots of great ways to be involved. Okay. This is the time to bring out that list of questions that your parents wanted you to ask, or perhaps that you have, or your guidance counselor. So, admissions. Some of the things you should be thinking about before you apply to UBC. There are some general UBC entrance requirements. For example, there's an English language admission standard, and so you'll need to have been studying in English language in secondary school for a number of years, et cetera, et cetera. So if you're coming from outside of Canada, for instance, you can take a look at our website and you'll see lots of great information on how you can meet that English language admission standard. And then we do strongly recommend that students have done the equivalent of pre-calculus 12, or it's the math 12 or higher level calculus in sort of senior secondary. English Studies 12, or in British Columbia, we have a course called English First Peoples 12. So either one of those. And then we expect to see that you've taken either anatomy and physiology, which is also called biology 12 in BC, or chemistry 12, or physics 12, because we really want to make sure that you've got a solid grounding in your sciences. It's very important that you have Chem 11 and have finished Chemistry 11 and have finished that before starting at UBC. Otherwise, you would spend a lot of time catching up and could struggle to be able to get into the courses that you need. And then Life Sciences 11, which is in BC is also called Biology 11. That's an expectation that we have. And then if you're really interested in something that's going to involve physics, like wood products processing or forest operations, then we strongly recommend that you have Physics 11 already so that you're ready to step into the first-year university courses. So how would you know if you're applying as a secondary student or as a transfer student coming from another post-secondary institution? Well, if you have 24 transferable credits, which is sort of just under 1 year of university credits, then you would be admitted or be able to apply as a transfer student. And we would not be looking terribly much at your sort of high school grades or record in terms of your admissibility. We do have a program application deadline. It's January 16th, 2026, so that's coming up. It is possible that the deadline might be extended, but if you're interested, we strongly encourage you to apply by that deadline. And then there's a great website that talks about all things application, admission, and really has great answers to questions you might have for students for applying to any faculty at UBC, and that's this www.you.ubc.ca. And you'll see we have our contact information, I think, a little bit later on, but you're welcome to contact the Forestry Student Services for any questions that come up. While you're applying, as you're thinking about choosing schools, we're happy to help you from day one. Okay, now there is one more admissions I'll tag on. If the Bachelor in Indigenous Land Studies is the one that really catches your eye, then there's a slightly different admissions requirements because it's not a Bachelor of Science. So therefore, and the focus is going to be a little different. So definitely the general UBC entrance requirements plus English 12. Any English language arts 11 or English first pupils 11. So really kind of 2 years of high school or secondary school English. A language 11 of some kind. And that could also be English. The life sciences 11, so the biology 11 is strongly recommended, or a chemistry 11, or a physics 11, or an earth science 11, or environmental sciences 11. So really at least one kind of year of high school sciences there. And then the pre-calculus 11 or foundations of math, 11 or 12. So you really want to know that folks have that ability to think like a scientist, but we don't expect that you'll need to be able to go on and continue in that type of science education in university. And you also will write, uniquely for the Bachelor of Indigenous Land Studies, a positionality statement. Who are you in relation to the studies that you're considering? How do the studies fit into your worldview? What would you bring to the program? What would you hope to take from the program? So the positionality statement. And same deadline, January 16th. Okay. So now we have time for questions. And as promised, our website is here as well as our email address. And you are more than welcome to contact us about any questions you have. And if there are ones that our central admissions group would answer, we're happy to connect you with them as well. So I'm going to stop talking for a moment and let Anna and Jana do some answering of questions. I think we have one from Maria.
I just wanted to add that there will be a separate information session like this focused on the Bachelor of Indigenous Land Stewardship program. So if you are interested in that one specifically, it will be announced on our website. It's just been freshly organized. I believe the date is November 18th, and there will be another one in the next year as well, early in the new year. So keep an eye out for that on our website, but that will be another opportunity to learn more details about the Bachelor of Indigenous Land Stewardship. So great. For Maria's question, thanks Maria for your question. Hopefully the previous slide answered a little bit of that. So, but to answer your question more directly, it's not necessary to have a humanities background. You can, of course, as long as you're meeting the minimum prerequisites for admission. So that's the basis that you'll be evaluated on. Otherwise, you're of course able to have any kind of other background that you're able to have, that your high school offers or post-secondary offers wherever you're coming from. So yeah. For the question about, thank you, Leanne. So for your question about online courses for admission requirements, it depends on what these are. So the admission requirements that were listed in the last couple of slides are firm and required. So if you're doing anything different, it might be a good thing just to check in with us directly. That might be a kind of a more specific case kind of question. So do connect with us maybe so we can clarify that. But we do have students who come to us, especially I guess from post-secondary, having done some online work, and that is okay as long as the courses are transferable to UBC. But your admission requirements need to be as they were listed here. So yeah. So for the transferable credits, does it matter what the courses are that we have credits from, or can they be from any classes taken?
I would assume that's about the coming in as a transfer student, being considered a transfer student for admission purposes, I would guess.
Yeah. So yes. So that is okay. The 24 credit minimum that you need to have to be considered a transfer student, and hence for your admission to be based solely on your post-secondary work, the credits that you have that make up that 24 can be something that's unrelated to forestry, as long as it's transferable to UBC. So for example, if you have something like, which sometimes students do, like a hospitality diploma, or you've maybe gone to a school to study tourism or things like that, those things are not transferable to UBC. UBC does not have equivalent programs like that, so that would not count. However, if you're coming from another recognized college or university where you're taking maybe philosophy or psychology or sociology, things like that, courses that are then transferable to UBC, that's okay. They can make up that 24 credits that you're coming in with, as long as, again, you're still meeting the prerequisite requirements for admission, right? So those high school requirements still remain there. Or if you were missing the high school, so let's say maybe you didn't do pre-calculus at the high school level, if you do a first year calculus course at the post-secondary level that's transferable to UBC, that one can cover that math or that calculus admission requirement. So that would be okay. Otherwise, your 24 credits that you're coming in with, they can consist of courses that are not necessarily transferable to forestry, but are transferable to UBC. That's okay.
Can I just jump in for one quick
Yes.
second? So if you are thinking about either going to another post-secondary first, or like to a college, or you are currently there and you do want to take some courses that will go towards the forestry degree you're thinking about right now, you're welcome to reach out to us. A lot of the first year courses, not all, but most of them are quite foundational in that they are, as Michelle mentioned earlier, maths and English and economics. So you can take them elsewhere and then transfer them over to us. And as I mentioned, just to reach out to us and we can let you know what courses those are if you want to start taking them somewhere else and then transfer to us for second year.
So for the question about international students, absolutely, international students are welcome. We would love to have a large, diverse group of international students. So absolutely, please do apply. We would love to have you a part of our faculty.
And for the registered engineering question, asking if all majors have that requirement to pursue it, it's actually very specifically the forest operations. So if students follow the forest operations major in the Bachelor of Science in Natural Resources and add approximately a year of extra courses, and one of our previous students went through to see which courses kind of work the best with that degree. So as long as they add about, I think it's between 6 months to a year of those courses, the students can then contact the Professional Engineering Association and apply to start the process to get their designation for that. And then I see quite a few questions. Sorry?
It can also be done with wood products.
Oh, okay.
Wood products major, yeah, that's okay too. Wood products and forest operations, those are more of the engineering focused majors. So
yeah. And then someone was asking about which grade 12 math course is required for the science degree. So students need to come in with pre-calculus 12 for the Bachelor of Urban Forestry, but specifically also for the Bachelor of Science in Natural Resources. You can have calculus 12, but you don't need calculus 12. You do need pre-calc 12. And thank you, Michelle, for putting in the BC Transfer Guide, which is really helpful if you're taking courses at another post-secondary to see how the courses transfer to UBC. So one of the questions is, are the first year science courses only with forestry students, or are the larger classes mixed with other faculties? So a lot of the students or the courses are quite foundational in first year, so they will be a mix of different forestry, arts, science, depending on the class. However, for the Bachelor of Science in Natural Resources, there's 2 courses specifically that are just for students in the Bachelor of Science in Natural Resources. For urban forestry, there are 2 courses that are specific to first year urban forestry courses, and then there's a few conservation and forestry courses that you would take, which will have a range of first and second year forestry courses or forestry students. And for the Bachelor of Indigenous Land Stewardship, it's a very close cohort. So the majority of your first year courses will actually, for that degree, all be together, and they're very specific to that degree. So it is a little more difficult to take courses elsewhere and then transfer them into the Bachelor of Indigenous Land Stewardship because the courses are very specific to that program. I've lost track a little bit of where the questions are.
That's okay, I got you. So the next one is asking about information on applying as an international student. So Maria, I'm gonna put something in the chat. I'll put a link in to point you in the right direction. Your hub for anything related to being a prospective student to UBC would be YOU, so uyou.ubc.ca. That's the hub for that. Otherwise, you can also access that through our website. So if you just go to forestry.ubc.ca, we have information there as well for prospective students. Obviously, where you can find a lot about what Michelle was talking about today, and also more in-depth information about the specific majors. And then also it can lead you into the application side of things. So to follow through on that process if you were wanting to proceed with that. Question about are some of the first year courses interchangeable with environmental sciences? It depends on what kind of courses you took elsewhere and how much the material overlaps with the learning objectives of the courses that are required here as part of our forestry program. So we do assess transfer credits from other institutions that are maybe not on the BC transfer guide, that UBC does not give direct transfer credit for. So if there are environmentally related courses or forestry related courses, we as the Faculty of Forestry, we can take a second look at those. And if any that we feel are close enough in subject matter to the courses that are required as part of your forestry degree here, we are able to allow you to give to use transfer credit or to exempt you from certain requirements. So it'll really depend on the specific course and the content of it. So you'd have to bring that to our attention.
And then there's a question about some scholarships. So there are general UBC entrance scholarships for both international and domestic students. More forestry specific scholarships typically come about in second year. So our students, for forestry students, as long as they are have a specific GPA and have a certain number of credits for that year, and completed a certain number of credits for the previous year, which is why they come into effect in second year and above, our students are automatically entered for those scholarships. I will say that a lot of the scholarships are based on academics, and we do have some amazing, we're lucky enough to have amazing students in our faculty, but we do have quite a few scholarships for our amount of students that we have. And thank you, Anna, for including the information about the scholarships and financial planning in there. So there's some great information on the you.ubc.ca website, including a first year calculator for figuring out what your costs may be for your first year. So I strongly recommend checking that out as well.
Perfect. So I'm just keeping an eye on the time. So maybe we'll do one more question. We need to do the raffle still. And then you obviously will have our contact information for any more follow-ups. So for the last question, so for the Indigenous Land Stewardship Program, is there a number of seats held for Indigenous identifying students? To be honest, I don't believe that there is, but like I said, this is not necessarily, as far as the three of us here are concerned, not necessarily our area of expertise. So if you want to reach out to me, directly send me an email and I will refer you to the people who can answer your question. This can obviously as well be answered during the info session that they will have specifically for the program in November. Yeah, thanks, Michelle. So it's just my first name dot last name there at ubc.ca. Feel free to reach out and yeah, fantastic. Thanks, Scott. Okay. Right, so you can see Scott's text over there saying about 50% of the seats are being held for Indigenous identifying students. Okay, great, thank you. Perfect. Okay. Should we do the raffle? Is that the next slide? Okay.
Yes.
All right. So while Michelle was talking, I did make a note of everybody's name. I put them on pieces of paper. I do not know anybody here, so there's no favoritism. So I'm going to pull one at random. Okay, at random. And it is Tony Liu. Is Tony still here? Hopefully Tony is still here. Tony, yes, is still here. So Tony, stay back just for a second, or send me a private message. Send me your email address, and we will make sure we'll make sure to get your information so that we can organize to send you the sweatshirt. Congrats.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your great questions. Thank you for investing this time. I trust it's been time well spent. We really love to connect with our students in the Faculty of Forestry. And so anytime you have questions from now until the day that you graduate, even beyond, don't hesitate to reach out, because we would just love to connect with you and see how we can make your university experience exceptional. Have a great day.